So recently I made the choice to pick up Smite 1, and now I have to say Smite 1 because Smite 2 is coming out soon. And the main reason why, of course, I pick up Smite 1 is because Smite 2 is coming out soon. I pre-ordered Smite 2, I'm playing the alpha, so there will be a video coming out soon on Smite 2, but I picked up Smite 1. It's in year 11, and of course I was playing the game way back, and I think it's been going on longer than 11 years. It's just, that's the time of its official development cycle, play cycle, whatever. But I remember Smite when it first came out, and I was really excited about it. I was playing the game. The first time I was playing it, I believe it was when Cabrakan came out. That's when I got into the game. As I remember, Cabrakan came out around that time, I think. And then the first god I remember in the game being released was Serket, who's a goddess, Egyptian one. But bro, and back then, domination was still a game mode. Anyway, I remember playing the game that far back. I remember my first match playing the game, having a salty Thor player. I was playing in a duel match against a random Thor, and he told me to end myself. And he was wrecking me in the lobby, and he was telling me to end myself. Man, that was interesting. That was my first time, I think, also playing a multiplayer game, truly, where someone was talking to you, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. And I do remember back then that really upset and bothered me, to have a random person that I'm playing a game against tell me to end my life. That was interesting, but ever since then, you get used to you get used to it, right? You get used to everyone telling you to end it all. That eventually, well, you become the guy that's just telling everybody to end it all. Anyways, and in the most common instance of telling everyone to end it all is, why didn't your Democrat mother, she votes Democrat, but she still didn't go through with it on you. Interesting how her right to choose is not your obligation to death. That's very odd. Very odd. She's not being very consistent with her political beliefs. It's very weird. Anyways, so that's my history with Smite 1 from the ghettos of when it all began. Man, dude, it is crazy, because I also remember playing the beta in Xbox One days. Oh my gosh, when the game was first coming out on consoles, right? Jeez, that's crazy. It's just so insane to remember. And, the game's gone through many ups and downs. So we've just picked it up recently. And yes, I no-lifed it like a good freaking reviewer. A good reviewing gamer who is being told very often to end themselves. I picked up Smite 1. A game, by the way, I've made, I think 2 other videos on this so far. For instance, why we will never get a character like Neith ever again. I made a video on that, and I also made a video on why I hate Smite. And by the way, point of this freaking video, this review here, I mean, right? What are we talking about here? What's the question here? Well, how is Smite? How is it now at year 11, up to date? What are your thoughts on it? Do you still hate it? Does everything still stand that you said about it? Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's like it's as old as time at this point, why I hate Smite. And it's just because of all these bad, malicious dynamics that you have with people. And I swear to God, bro, people are getting worse at games. I freaking mean it. Like, gaming, and I remember I used to sweat my freaking pants whenever I would pick up a video game. I'd be like, oh my gosh, there's gonna be a bunch of try-hard Chinese players and all these freaking try-hard American dudes. There's gonna be that random American dude who's just the best of the best. And I always imagine, like, it's the kids are gonna be the better players. They're gonna be these no-lives, and they're gonna just know how to freaking one-shot you from across the map, and you're like, how do you do it, bro? I don't get it, but somehow it happens. And like, you only get that every so often. You get real tryhards that can do that. But let's just be honest, as years have gone on, it's become very clear that gamers are getting progressively worse at gaming. it's getting clear that gamers are getting dumber. I mean, I don't know how many freaking illegals are picking up freaking gaming, because it seems like a lot of people just don't understand English anymore. Jeez Louise, you guys come into a superior country, but then you don't know how to freaking speak the language, you freaking tards. By the way, no one welcomed you here. Anyways, but you know, we're sitting here, and it's just like, either Americans are so stupid, which I'm not past that idea, that they don't understand their own language. Because, you know, given Ebonics, I can see that nobody understands what the frick hello means. It's like, you don't mean what's up, brother? What's up? You know, I don't know. Maybe everyone's confused when you're not speaking Ebonics, this broken English, where, by the way, every time people say, like, I didn't do nothing, brother. You didn't do nothing. Are you listening to your own retarded mouth for 2 seconds? I didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. Do you understand what that means? That is a double negative. He didn't do nothing. Okay, again, let's go through this very slowly. Didn't, that means did not do nothing. So you are using a term that is supposed to negate information to say that there is no information. I didn't do nothing. Okay, so then that meant that you did something. You did something. That's what the freaking phrase means. You did something. You didn't do nothing. That means you did something. Love of God. But here we are, Ebonics. And they do this in more than one way. I'm just giving you this one example, and they keep on inventing new Ebonics every mother effing year. Every new generation, the retardation goes even deeper, and I don't know what the frick is going on. So anyways, the freaking didn't do nothing. Okay, here's the correct English. I did nothing. Or, of course, what they actually mean typically when they're saying this is, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. That's what it means. That's what it means. That's what you actually intend to say. That's what your phrase is actually supposed to entail, is I didn't do anything. Okay, so anyways, now that we're past that, I have no idea. I have no idea with modern day games, because people used to be smarter than this, right? I have no clue, because of how many people just don't know how to speak English. How many of these people are illegals? How many of these people are Section 8? How many of these people are freaking EBT gamers? I don't know, but they think and they act like freaking EBT and Section 8. Love of God, don't even get me started. Freaking A. Okay, anyways, those are separate reasons for the reason why I hate Smite. Of course, I did make the why I hate Smite video, and it is by design that you are not supposed to enjoy Smite. Of course, I love the game itself. I love Neith's freaking boobs. Neith is so hot. And by the way, the fact that Hi-Rez has ever gone woke, and they stopped sexualizing women. They even added an obese woman eventually, Z-Shell. She is basically, by the way, Z-Shell, she is basically obese Neith, which is like, what the frick were you? Because when you look at Z-Shell, you're like, this could be a freaking 10 out of 10 hot chick if she would just lose the weight. She has these freaking thick, tight breasts. You know, if she were thin, she's not thin, so it's not actually thick and tight. But what I'm saying is that if she lost the weight, she would be Neith level of hotness. She would have these massive freaking boobs. They're thick, they're tight, they look amazing. And she would have this thin, curvaceous waist and amazing thighs and hips. She would look amazing if she were thin. But and honestly, can they just please add a freaking skin of Z-Shell that is thin? Because then she would be one of the hottest characters in the game since Neith. I mean, okay, but then they put her in the freaking dress, so okay, she needs to lose the clothing. But anyways, it would look way better. But instead, what you have in this game is that the women have progressively looked worse and worse, and also they keep on pushing forward feminism. I mean, for some reason, they push forward Bellona, who's a raging feminist character, for one. She looks like, and by the way, in Smite 2, she looks even worse. But for the longest time, I don't know why they're selling the game on a freaking feminist icon character who nobody even knows who the frick Bellona is until Smite existed. Let's just be honest. Somehow, Ares, who looks cooler, he's not the face of the game. Or Nia, Neith is not the face of the game, or Aphrodite. These women who are absolutely sexy, or by the way, Nuwa, they're not the face of the game for some reason. Bellona, a chick in full armor. She has gender studies, feminist hair, where it's super short, and she has this jawline of a freaking man boy, right? I don't know what the frick is going on with these developers, but they keep on going out of their way. They want to push into our freaking face a bunch of masculine women. And again, the new female characters, they never give them freaking boob size. It's like, what the frick are you doing? They came out with nuts, which I love the fact that she has these side boob angles. Her top or whatever, her dress looks freaking hot, bro. But the issue is she doesn't have boobs. Okay, they could have given her double D breasts, triple G breasts, but they didn't do that. For some reason, they didn't give her Neith boob size. They just gave her these crappy freaking A cups or B cups, whatever. I don't know. Anyways, they gave her small boobs with an outfit that would look really sexy on a woman with big boobs. Anyways, freaking A, they just keep on going out of their way to not really make the women that sexy or attractive. Now, recently, it looks like they've been trying more than they ever have in the past. So at least I'm a little bit grateful on that end. I mean, specifically, they've been adding sexy anime girl outfits and skins. So I do like that because they have nice boobs. They look freaking sexy and hot. I like that. But outside of that, I mean, but still, I want to just, they need to throw in more sexy women. But anyways, for the longest time, they've gone non-sexy. They've gone freaking woke with the female characters. And that's pissed me off for a long time. It's like, why are you not maximizing the sexiness of every single female character that you add into the game? I mean, Ardio, freaking Terra. Just go down the list of all the female characters they've added that they're completely covered up. I mean, geez, let's just look past freaking Bellona. She's completely covered up, right? And she's a feminist, and she's ugly, all those things. But it's like they keep on covering up these freaking chicks, and it sucks. And they're just making all the women more and more masculine. So anyways, I came back to Smite, and I played it. And what do I have to say about the game? Because obviously there's all that stuff about how the women, their sexiness has been completely diminished. And that really pisses me off without any end, okay, bro? I could go on for a long time. I could go, you know what? We could do a separate video just analyzing every single, I might actually do it, going through every single female character in Smite and just going through their design decisions and how the women get progressively less and less sexy, less and less cleavage, less and less boob size. Freaking A, I hate this trash. Anyways, what do I think about the game? And do I still stand by my video for saying why I hate Smite? Yes, by design, they want you to hate the game. Yes, by design, it is a socialist matchmaker. They make it so that, right, if you're a well-performing player, they will track your performance and they will say through the algorithm, through their ELO matchmaking system, they will determine, hey, this guy is leading too many of his lobbies. Maybe he's performing at a diamond level and he's leading lobbies against golds or whatever. Well, what they do is they then put you up against a team of 3 masters, okay? And then they put on your team either platinums, golds, or even silvers. Okay, I've even been in lobbies where they put bronze players on my team. And I'm playing up at high platinum, bottom, diamond, whatever. They'll put a bunch of good players on the enemy team, and they'll put a bunch of players that I am destined to lose with these people. They feed out their freaking heads. They don't listen to instructions. They don't do anything, okay? The matchmaker is a huge problem in Smite. It does everything in its power to destroy your lobbies, destroy your games. It will find people who are behavioral quitters. They ruin their lobbies one way or another. They will put those people on your teams and screw you over simply because you're performing too well. I hate that, and I hate this game for that one reason. They will find crappy players to put on your team. You have no chance in winning, and they will put players astronomically higher than your skill level for some reason. And they are doing this, by the way, in Smite 2. I've ran into lobbies exactly like this in Smite 2, but we're gonna save that topic for freaking Smite 2, that video. Anyways, the matchmaker is still broken And so for that one reason alone, I'm pissed off with playing Smite 1. But anyways, they've added new characters. Do I like the new characters? For the most part. By the way, they added Maman Bridget, a black chick with huge afro hair. Okay, whatever. But she has huge freaking boobs, bro. They are the definition of freaking thick and tight. And they look amazing. And it's like, wow, dude, freaking motorboat out of 10. This chick's freaking hot. But again, out of how many female characters that they're adding, are they really that sexy? Maman Bridget is pretty much the only one, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know what other chick is really that sexy, especially since they released Z Shell. Love of God. But anyways, I would say that right now, Smite 1, this is the best the game has ever been. And I actually mean that. There's the most going on the map than there's ever been before. There's really never a reason to get bored. There's always an objective to be chasing. There's always something going on. There's always a fight taking place. The entire time that you play any match of Smite, in past iterations of the game, in past patches, seasons, updates, whatever, there wasn't a crazy lot going on the map. And the game was kind of stale for that reason. But nowadays, in modern Smite, there's a lot going on the map, right? There's random meteors that you can hit, and they give you XP and gold, and then if you get the entire asteroid destroyed, you can get this special little device that follows you around and does damage to nearby minions or gods. Okay, that's cool. But then you also have the totem and solo lane, and you have teleporters now on the duo lane as well as the solo lane. You've got all these different things. You've got multiple layers that adds to the overall gameplay experience of playing Smite. So it's very hard to get bored when you're playing the game. There's always something going on, and that's a good thing. Oh, and by the way, they also have the Pyromancer that balances out the Gold Fury, so that if the enemy team, they get the Gold Fury, then you can go get the Pyromancer, and that pretty much nowadays, that evens it out. It used to be that the Pyromancer was like, I think it was a third of the Gold Fury's gold count. Now, I think it's pretty much equivocal. I think the Gold Fury gives only a slight bit more, so that's pretty cool to have. But outside of that, are the items still pretty busted, and are the characters still pretty busted? The answer, of course, is yes. I have noticed that in the most recent patch, as of this update, in year 11, okay, it is clear that they reduced the damage on many leading items in the game. So that now, because the last time I was playing Smite, everybody was nuking each other, and I mean, holy crap. You had like one ability or two abilities and people were getting nuked. That can still happen with certain characters in this update right now, but I noticed with a lot of characters, nuking other players is a lot more difficult. You have to land a lot more of your abilities, and again, your damage is just not as high because they reduced a lot of the damage. But anyways, you have a lot of characters that used to be freaking busted. They're still busted, by the way. One of the things I realized with this game after playing Smite 2, by the way, Smite 2, super fluid game, smooth, crisp. You know that when you're using abilities that they should land and that they do land when they're supposed to land. And you know that when you're supposed to miss a freaking attack, you miss that attack. Okay, there's no questioning, how did I miss that? Why did that miss? Should that have landed? Should it not have landed? There's no question in Smite 2, for the most part. There's still some quirkiness at times, but for the most part, you know to blame yourself when you miss an ability. For the longest time, I gaslit myself playing Smite 1, saying I'm a bad player when I can't land abilities, but after playing Smite 2, I realized, oh frick, it's Smite 1. The game is so clunky. Literally, you will skip frames within certain animations of your character attacking. If you do a dash attack with certain characters, for instance, you will skip frames. And it leads to these really awkward interactions where you use an ability and it randomly misses. And you're like, well, why? No. I aimed the ability correctly. How did that miss? And the answer is, because you're skipping frames. Because the clunkiness of Smite 1, there's something weird about the operating animations of different abilities. Like, let's say a Fenrir leap. the first third of Fenrir's leap, you will typically see that skip frames, at least on console. I don't know about PC. Maybe it does that as well on PC. I have no idea. But the point is, dude, the first third of Fenrir's leap will skip in frames. So your character, when he leaps up in the air, you'll just randomly see this kind of pivot with the camera. Suddenly you start from one position and you end up in another really quickly, and it discombobulates you. You can barely see what's going on, and the more abilities going on the screen at one time, it gets progressively more confusing. You're like, whoa. Like, all of a sudden, there's a bunch of things just happening on freaking screen that I cannot feasibly keep up with because it's not even happening on screen. The frames are either dropping, which I don't think it's that. I just think it's skipping frames for whatever reason because of how botched the nature is of Smite 1. And this is for many abilities that you will use. There will be random, like, splotchy or weird, awkward motions to a lot of the abilities where you know for a fact this ability should have landed, and for some reason the ability comes out late. It comes out even early at times. The animations are completely off, and even the execution of the projectile is completely off. I don't know what it comes down to, and I don't know what it is, but Smite 1, after playing Smite 2, is secured for me. Wow. The reason why, at least on console, you're going to be missing a lot of your abilities, and that will put you behind in your games, and you will lose games because of this, is because the game itself is incredibly clunky, awkward, and confusing just through the animation quality alone. So anyways, dude, I go through this gameplay loop cycle every time I pick up the game, by the way. I pick it up, I'm like, oh, let's experiment around with this. I just picked up Smite. Let's see if it's cool, if I'm having fun. I get stuck into the gameplay loop. I have a couple of decent games because I'm playing against largely noobs or people who have just gotten back into Smite, whichever one it is. I'm playing against lobbies of people who are not that difficult to play against. I start using certain builds. I'm experimenting with those builds, enjoying those builds. And then eventually I get to the point where I start wanting to make my own builds. And then I start taking the game more seriously. I stop taking it casually. And then I start getting into ranked. And then once I start getting into ranked and I get more competitive, I stop being the guy that can blame himself on the team, and I start being the guy that's leading the teams because I'm starting to take the game more seriously. And then once that happens, that's where the rage begins. And time after time after time again, I've uninstalled this game for many times over and over because of the simple fact, the more serious you take this game, the more the developers and their algorithm for the matchmaker screws you over. And you end up at a place where you start raging at your team, you start getting pissed off playing the game, and you start realizing that the game's there to waste your time because the matchmaker is so botched and stupid. Without an absolute doubt, oh my gosh, you come down to hating Smite the longer you play and the more serious you take it. And of course, by the way, the longer you play it, the more serious you're going to take it, especially if you're a competitive dude. But then you start dealing with a lot of the BS of freaking players, you know, the freaking BS, all the things I said and why I hate Smite, the video. Everything I said is still true. I mean, geez Louise, man, the amount of people, they will sell out your lane. They will refuse to help you. The amount of matches, I'm not kidding to you, man. The amount of matches that I have where I'm playing solo lane, for instance, or even carry, any role that I play, for some reason, I will always be leading a match or something like that, or not. I'll just be having like a bad match or a neutral match. For some reason, no matter whether I'm sitting underneath the tower or pushing down my lane against my opponent, whichever way it happens, the enemy team will always coordinate. Mid lane, support, or jungle will be jumping my lane, helping their solo secure kills on me. And I will never get help in my lane by my mid, by my support, or by my jungle. But meanwhile, if the guy in solo lane that you're up against, if he starts leaking into the other lanes, and he starts fighting mid, or he starts fighting carry in their lanes, or he starts fighting jungle in the jungle, suddenly your teammates will start spamming you, getting toxic, getting angry that you're not freaking backing them up or saving their lane from your solo laner, leaking into their lane and smashing them 24/7. And this is after you've been getting your freaking butt nailed in because you keep on getting, all throughout the match, you've been getting outnumbered time and time again. The point is, bro, is that your teammates, they only care about how bad the match is going when it's going poorly for themselves. If you're getting railed on by everyone across the map because for some reason no one's coming into your lane to support you, nobody gives a crap when you are the one having a bad gameplay experience. Because once it comes down to them having a bad gameplay experience, they'll quit the match when it's not a losing match. They'll trash on you. They'll freaking spam you. They'll freaking talk again, right? As I said at the beginning of this video, they'll be like, you need to end yourself, blah, blah, blah. They'll come right after you, bro, when it's not going their way. And by the way, I'm the type of player, I don't say anything when things are going bad. Because, by the way, it's very clear when things are going bad. But I don't sit there and harass my freaking teammates. Hey, do this. Hey, do that. Because it's freaking biatch freaking energy to sit there and make demands of your team. They should simply get it. If they don't get how to play like a team, then that is on them. That is their responsibility. That is their fault, not yours. Also, by the way, it's a waste of energy to start biatching at your team. Hey, do this. Hey, do that. Hey, come fight in my lane that you're clearly neglecting. It's not worth it. Just don't even bother. But the point is that people, they pick up a team-based game and they do not understand team-based gameplay. They play the team-based game like it's a single-player game, like they're playing Elder Scrolls Skyrim. So anyways, for that one reason alone, the game's just super frustrating because the people suck. And by the way, at this point, that's pretty much every single multiplayer game. People just suck in multiplayer games. I don't know what kind of curse it is that I have, but for some reason, I always attract bad players. People who don't know how to play the game, people who are not at my skill level, and for some reason, I attract lobbies where the enemy team has a bunch of tryhards, people who play at least at my level or better. And it's like, how is this happening, bro? How is it that I always end up with teammates that are raging retards, and then the enemy team has a bunch of tryhards? I don't get it. It makes absolutely no sense, but it happens time and time again. Anyways, dude, what do I think about Smite 1? I think that we have the largest roster we've ever had. That comes with the good. You can experiment with a lot of different characters. That also comes with the bad. There's a lot of characters that are just not really viable, and also some characters are absolutely busted. You have characters, they'll use their entire kit, 3 abilities plus the ultimate. They can't get a kill. Then you have other characters, they can get a kill with only 2 abilities. Jeez Louise, man. You have characters that are so busted, so broken, and you have other characters that are just not. And then on top of that, you have items in the game that are super busted on certain characters. So then that maximizes the suffering even more. But anyways, you know, this game does have sexy women in it, and the sexy females are from the older years of Smite, the older developmental cycle of the game. But let's just face it, Smite is still a game that is one of the oldest games at this point to even have any sexy women in it. If you're looking for sexy women in a game, there's really nothing in modern day. I mean, you've got Final Fantasy VII Remake, okay. You've got Stellar Blade, okay. But outside of that, you really don't have anything. So if you're really desperate, you want to see a nice pair of freaking boobs on multiple female characters, again, it's going to be the older character models that have them, but whatever, then Smite is going to have a lot of sexy females. But dude, again, is the game massively imbalanced? Yes. Is the game massively clunky? And you will miss multiple abilities because of how clunky Smite 1 is? Yes. And I had no idea how bad it was until I played Smite 2. But anyways, man, is the matchmaker still terrible? Absolutely, yes. Are all of my criticisms from the Why I Hate Smite video, do I still stand by all of those today? Absolutely, yes. All of the reasons that I've previously given as to why I hate Smite still stands to this day, and some of these problems are even, they still have leaked through into Smite 2. Sadly enough, because there's issues, huge issues with the matchmaker. But it's really strange, man, because like there's something different about the people playing Smite nowadays than the people playing earlier on. The people playing the game in its early stages, very different, but the game has the most characters it's ever had, and also I would say roughly the most items kind of ish that it's ever had for making your own builds. Would I say that the game was worth playing? Would I say that the game was a good time? After getting back into it, especially after all this time, waiting to get back into the game, and of course we got back into it because of Smite 2, waiting for the alpha weekend to start, and honestly the answer is no, bro. I'm just gonna, if I'm telling you from my position what I think of the game, I think the game is fun when you first pick it up, but you will quickly get to a state of absolute fervent rage with the game. The more and more serious you take it, and eventually, bro, you've got to realize something. It's a waste of time. The game is an absolute waste of time the deeper you get into it. If it's a game that you pick up every so often, you might enjoy it out of the novelty. But again, bro, absolutely do not spend your time on this game. There's so many other things to do with your time. This is one of those games that for the longest time was a guilty pleasure of mine. And because, by the way, a bunch of games that I used to love, games like Gigantic, Battleborn, what's the other one? Halo Wars 2. There's another one. At one point, I loved Rainbow Six Siege, but there's so many games I used to love, and they're all gone now. Oh yeah, Evolve. Evolve is another game. I used to love these games. And it used to be that there was such a long list of games available to play that I enjoyed. Oh, also, I did for a time, but this game is huge. Rage Bait, which is For Honor. But there was a point in time where I really loved that game too. But anyways, games that I genuinely love, they're just gone now, bro. And so I have this kind of guilty pleasure play loop with Smite, where the game is not worth my time, but I put more time into it than I should because all the other games that I like, they don't exist anymore. So it's pretty much the last of the Mohicans, if I'm being honest. The only game in modern day that I absolutely love to this level, although that's waning nowadays because I've been playing against PC players and they're just way better than you if you play on console, it's just a simple truth, is Age of Empires 4. But that's it, bro. That is absolutely it. But again, if I were telling you, what should you do with your time? Listen, Smite Year 11. The most is going on right now for the game, but it is a waste of your time the deeper you go into it. It is a fun game. I love the game itself, but the players suck. So many gods in the game and so many of the items are busted that implicitly you end up having a bad experience rather quickly. And for that one reason alone, man, I'm just gonna tell you, don't pick up the game, don't play it. You're gonna get angry, you're gonna get upset, it's gonna be a waste of your time. I would heavily advise that you avoid the game because there's a bunch of other things that you can be doing. If you pick it up for novelty, then maybe it's okay. But I am telling you, there will come a point where you will rage with this game the more serious that you take it. And listen, if you're not that competitive, then you won't rage. But seriously, there comes a point where you just have to admit to yourself that this game is not worth the time. And that's a bunch of multiplayer games, but there's a point in time where games were just better than this. I mean, Smite 1 is still a decent game, it's just that there's so many things holding it back. And listen, bro, it's just not worth it. Don't get stuck into a game that eventually you're just having a rage cycle with. A game where you're meant to get angry with it, get upset, the longer that you play. It is absolutely not worth it. And again, just find something else to do with your time.